Hey, I'm Adam Justico from ProudMoney.com. In this video, we are going to talk about when you should close a secured credit card if the credit card company has not graduated you to an unsecured card and you want to close that card, but you also want to preserve your credit and make sure you kind of do things the right way. That's what we're going to talk about. But before we do, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not already, and if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So I see this question come up in the comments to certain videos from the past when we talk about certain credit cards that are secured cards. Maybe they're not graduating to an unsecured card, or maybe they don't have a path to graduate to an unsecured card. So people are a little unsure. When should they close them? Maybe they've gotten some unsecured cards, but they still have that secured card going and they're not sure when they can close it to preserve their credit history or whatever. So that's what we are going to talk about here. All right, so I'm going to give the short version of the answer and then I'll take a step back and sort of flesh it out a little further. So if you're someone that has a secured credit card, maybe it was the first card you got when you were building or rebuilding your credit, now you may have gotten a unsecured credit card in addition, or maybe more than one unsecured credit card, and now you're thinking, should I close the secured card or not? The short answer is, as far as I'm concerned, if you have two other unsecured credit cards and the card that you have that is secured is less than 25% of the available credit on those cards, then I think it is okay for you to close that secured card. So for example, if you had a secured credit card and you had put $500 down and now you have two other unsecured credit cards and those two credit cards have a total of $1,500 of available credit, then I would tell you that that secured card that you have $500 down on could be closed safely. You would still have $1,500 of available credit, unless you are using a huge amount of that credit that you have available on those other cards. There's no good reason to keep that secured card open, in my opinion. Now, the reason I say you should have two unsecured credit cards before you get rid of a secured credit card is because in general, I think you should have two credit cards in order to make sure that you have a backup if something goes wrong with one of them. So if you're flying through life with just one credit card and you go to use that somewhere and they don't accept it for whatever reason, it is good to have a backup. Maybe that is a backup because they won't take American Express and you should have a MasterCard. Or maybe it is a backup because there's been a misunderstanding with your credit card company and they have shut your card down temporarily and you just want to get that purchase made. Maybe you're at a hotel and you need to put a credit card down and for some reason there's a problem with one card. It is good to have one as a backup. So I think you should have two unsecured credit cards before you get rid of a secured credit card, because I think you should have two credit cards in general. Now, of course, I have a lot more than two credit cards myself, as do many other people, but I think you should have two as a minimum. Now, just to reiterate, when I said that if you have a secured credit card and its credit line is 25% or less of your total available credit, that it would be okay to get rid of that. I'm using that as sort of a ballpark figure. If you are carrying a higher balance on the other unsecured credit cards that you have, well, then maybe you would want to hold on to that secured card until you can get those balances lower. But I'm using that as sort of a rule of thumb because I think for most people, if you're keeping your balances at a reasonable level, it is not going to hurt you very much in terms of your overall credit utilization. And that's really one of the things that people get worried about, is the fact that they are now going to be using too much of their credit if they get rid of a secured credit card. Now, one of the other things that people sometimes worry about in closing a secured credit card is that secured credit card may be their oldest credit line. And so they look at that card and they say, if I close it, my oldest credit line is going to go away. And so the age of my credit history is going to look like it is less. And they know that that is part of the equation in building a better credit score. But the good news is that even if you close an account, if it is in good standing, you've made all your payments, you've done everything right with that card, that length of credit history is not going to go away for a long time. So that is going to stay on your credit report for up to 10 years, or at least close to 10 years. They say 10 years, but sometimes I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's going to stay on there for a very long time. So your credit history doesn't just go away the moment that a card is closed. If you were in good standing, that's going to continue to show up on your credit report, and that's going to factor into your credit score. So you don't really need to worry about it. And 10 years down the line, you're going to have these other cards that you have built up a credit credit history on. So even when that one drops off of your credit report, it's no longer going to make a difference, assuming that you have done everything right with your other cards. Now, some people might think that I'm being a little too aggressive, that closing a secured credit card, if it is as much as 25% of your available credit, is too soon. However, the reason I think it's not too soon is because that is your money that has been deposited into that secured credit card, and you would like it back, I would guess. So if you have put, $200 down, you would like to get 200, but sometimes people put 500 bucks down. That's probably the max for most people that they put down on a secured card, but some people might put $1,000 or, even more onto a secured card. So you don't really want the bank to be holding that forever. So if you've sort of done the right things with that secured card and you've been able to get other unsecured cards and you are building your credit score up, well, then you should be able to get your money back. You shouldn't have the bank tying it up forever there. You're doing the right things, and it's not really going to hurt you if you close that card. Now, I said I was going to take a step back, and this is where I am going to do that and kind of go back to the possibility of you being someone that has a secured card but has not gotten any unsecured cards after that secured card. So obviously you're going to keep that open because that's helping you build your credit, right? So two things might happen if you have a secured card. If you are doing the right things, making your payments on time, eventually the bank may offer to give you your security deposit back and let you continue to use that card as an unsecured card, what we sometimes call graduating from a secured card to an unsecured card. So you don't have to do anything, you get your money back and you get to continue to use the card. That is sort of the utopia of secured cards. That's the way you would like things to work. However, it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes the bank just decides that you are still too much of a credit risk and they won't give you your money back. Sometimes you have a secured card that's just not what they do. They don't give you your money back unless you actually close down the account. So if you're in that situation where you have just a secured card, well, then obviously you need to get to that unsecured card place. So what I would say to you is, first of all, track your credit score. And the place that I would suggest you do that, there are many places you can track your credit score, but I always suggest using the free Discover scorecard site that lets you track your FICO score. You don't have to be a Discover card holder in order to use it. You just go online and you can sign up for that and you can see what your score is and you can track it over time. As far as I'm concerned, when you get your credit score up, probably over 650, you should be at a place where someone is going to approve you for an unsecured credit card. And that's usually when I would tell someone to go to Capital One and use their pre-approval form online and figure out if they would give you an unsecured card. So they might tell you right off the bat that you have reached a place where they would give you an unsecured card, and then you could feel secure that you could probably apply and you would be accepted. Now, some people would say you could go after unsecured cards even at a lower level than that, but that's sort of the place where I feel like you probably are going to be approved. At around a 650 is when you're in pretty good shape to get new credit cards. And then if you've successfully gotten an unsecured credit card, maybe you should wait about 6 months before you would consider going after a second unsecured credit card. But then once you have that second unsecured credit card, that's when you could start thinking about getting rid of that secured card and getting that security deposit back. Now, some people, depending on how safe you want to be with things, maybe you should wait another 6 months after you get that second unsecured card before you get rid of that secured card and close out that account. It depends on you. It also depends on your credit history. If you are someone that is coming, from no credit history, I think you can be more aggressive in shutting down a secured card than maybe if you are coming from a bad credit history, because if you have a bad credit history, the banks have more information on you and more of it is bad. But if they don't have any information on you to start with, well then once you have those unsecured cards, the secured card is probably a lot less necessary because you're only just continuing to build and you don't really have any negatives against you anymore as you continue that upward climb, where if you had bad credit, it takes a little longer before they start to trust you again. So that's it. I'm sure there are plenty of people that have their own thoughts about this and have their own experience as to how long they held on to their secured cards and when they decided that it was time to get rid of it and what those circumstances were. So I would love to hear if you have that experience. Comments in the comments section below would be very valued. Otherwise, I thank you for watching, and as always, please go to proudmoney.com where we do credit card reviews, we talk personal finance, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. Thanks for watching. Bye.